Holistic, reflective, connected, empowering. The Comprehensive Counseling Program at the elementary level in Highline Public Schools supports the socio-emotional, personal, career, and academic development of our students while unraveling the damage of systemic racism and bigotry, promoting mindsets and behaviors that enhance the learning process, and they create a culture that fundamentally supports the Highline Public School promise to know every student by name, strength, and need. The reality in education is that we're at a crossroads in which the cultural, socioeconomic, and political pressures on the lives of our most vulnerable students impacts their ability to fully access the gift of education. As educators, we must be intentional to combat the generational and personal trauma embodied by our students. It is essential that we prioritize educational opportunities and programs that support the mental health of our educational community, empowering each one of us to create the change we want to see in the world. It's in the news. Washington students are facing a mental health crisis. Seattle Children's is past capacity in caring for children with mental health crisis. There's a rise in suicide and in suicidal ideation that is directly impacting young children. And the experts say that this trend started before the pandemic hit, and we have a duty to address it. With so much happening in the news across the country and close to home, our students are being flooded with messages that leave them feeling overwhelmed. For our BIPOC students and adult community members, and for those who identify with the LGBT plus community, there's a sense of devaluation and fear that leads to higher levels of depression and anxiety. This is what we must combat as educators by supporting a comprehensive mental health program that recognizes and affirms the individual identity of our students, their families, and all of our staff members. We all know that learning is an emotional experience. When we feel unwelcomed or unsafe, or when our emotions are out of balance, learning becomes insurmountable. This is why we must embrace a comprehensive program for mental health and well-being in every one of our elementary schools, where individuals are valued, recognized, and empowered. The elementary counselors in Highline provide tailored programs to support the social, emotional, personal, career, and academic development of our students. At the school-wide Tier 1 level, elementary counselors support PBIS efforts that teach and promotes pro-social and pro-academic behaviors to create a trauma-informed, predictable, and safe environment for learning. They support school-wide MTSS efforts that assess and adequately address students' social-emotional competency through an anti-racist lens. They support school-wide implementation of ruler practices and lessons to help every member of the learning community to recognize and manage their emotions. And they provide and support social-emotional learning in the school using curriculum and individually catered lessons that affirm student identities and that teach about personal safety, anti-bullying, friendship skills, and more. At the Tier 2 level in Highline, elementary counselors collaborate and support Check and Connect and other school-wide behavioral interventions tailored to meet student needs. They run small groups designed to reteach and support learning around behavioral expectations and social-emotional competencies, and they coordinate small counseling groups based on the social-emotional needs of their students. At the Tier 3 individual levels, elementary school counselors are members of the student support teams, family support team, and multidisciplinary support teams as appropriate. They provide culturally competent counseling support for students, families, and staff members. They help to troubleshoot crisis, often collaborating with CPS and other agencies as needed. They offer referral services for students and families and staff members in need of extra mental health support. Elementary counselors also support family connection and outreach in their schools. They're often the McKinney-Vento coordinators supporting students and families dealing with homelessness, and they coordinate and support 504 planning and implementation to assure access for students with disabilities. By assuring a comprehensive counseling program in every elementary school in Highline, we are supporting the promise of Highline Public Schools to know every student by name, by strength, and by need, so they might graduate prepared for the future that they choose.